What is good people? Welcome back to the channel. We're coming out in the garage today to go ahead and talk about. I'll wait till the garage gets up. We're coming out today to talk about what's going on in the Honda community. Now, let's start with this. You already know what it is. Car's running great, no problems. I need to go get some greaser, clean up all this mess right here. Throw that away. Okay. But in the meantime, in between time, we're almost to the point where we can put this on. Got some GSR cams, all that. Almost ready to go. So, the reason we are out here today, the reason I wanted to make a video real quick is because, you know, the prices for these, man, are ridiculous. I'm looking on the internet and prices for just a B18 motor is you're looking at it right now probably about $1,000 just for the motor, maybe more, like $1,500 for a B18, for actual B18 motor. You're looking at like $1,000 to $1,500 is what you're looking at, honestly. It's getting crazy for a non-vtec motor. Now, let's not even talk about the heads. VTEC heads. I saw a B16 head online for $1,000, $900. You're not gonna find them for a whole complete one. You're not gonna find for almost under $1,000 now. Like, this is getting ridiculous. Like, a full GSR head is like $800 probably without the dizzy. You know, B20s are still in the good price range of $800. Like, $800 for just a B20 motor is crazy. You used to be able to buy a whole B series swap for under $1,500. You know, and it's nuts. I'll say 2.5 years ago, I sold before I went. Everybody knows that about my. If you follow my channel, if you follow my Instagram, all that, you know about my K24 Integra. Before I decided to swap it, it was a B20 VTEC setup, right? Which I was kind of mad about when I bought it, because he said it was a GSR. The whole thing was a GSR, but he came down like $1,000 on the price. And I ended up buying that car, the Integra, with the JD in front, with the B20 swap, with the GS, because it had the GSR head originally from the car, and then the GSR transmission originally from the original car. But he blew the block, swapped out the B18 bottom, and instead of rebuilding the block, which was crazy to me, he put a B20 in there. But all that being said, I would have never K-swapped that car. But anyway, I ended up K-swapping that car and got away from B series and had a lot of fun with that car for a while. And then I always wanted a hatch. So I ended up, and I wanted B series. So I, you know, being a fan of Initial D and always seeing that the EK9 from Initial D, I wanted to go there. But so in the search, what I was saying basically is, in the search for, you know, all the B series parts. But no, this is what I was saying. Sorry. At that time, I sold a complete B series setup, B20 VTEC setup, LS transmission. I sold the ECU, everything, for, I believe it was a cheap chip ECU too. So it wasn't it wasn't Honda. It wasn't S300. It was a chipped ECU, and it actually ran great for a chipped ECU. B20 VTEC. But anyway, I sold that whole setup for, I believe, $1,500, the whole swap. And I could have sold it probably for about $3,000, because looking back on it, I let the people who bought it come drive the car with the setup in it, and they ripped it, you know, shooting up and down the street. And then, but I already had all the stuff for the K-swap. I already had paid for everything, so I was trying to reimburse some money, and I was just ready to get that K motor in there to see what that K life was like. I've dealt with B series motors. I had Integras. I had coupes. I had a coupe before I had the JDM front green Integra that I had. So I was so used to B series already that I was like, I got to try this K life. You know what I mean? I had driven a Type S, but and that torque on the Type S was cool, but the K24 that I ended up swapping into the Integra was nuts, absolutely nuts, and I loved it. So did that whole swap. Loved the K series, very powerful, and man, oh man, I'm gonna tell you, after driving this, after kind of putting the same amount of work into this, not spending the same amount of money, definitely not, because it's still, the swap is still cheaper than going K. If you're not already K, it's cheaper than going K, which that needs to be said, right? So as of right now, which I don't think this is gonna last long, for a 90s chassis that is not already K series, going K series is still more expensive than going from D series to B series, or buying, you know what I mean? Because they already, the mounts, you don't have to do all that. The mounts are still not as expensive. B series mounts are still not as expensive as K series mounts. You have to get like K Pro, pretty much. You almost have to get K Pro to run swapped to run a K series in a swapped 90s Honda. You almost have to, and most tuners don't want to deal with chips anymore. The chips, they don't really even make the chips no more, so the chips are becoming more expensive. Chips used to be like, I think, $1 back in the days, like $1 to $5 back in the days. They're now $20 for a chip, and I got the homie price from Armington, good looking. I got the homie price of $20 for a chip, and then he loaded a base map B18 tune on it for me. But with that being said, it's still cheaper to go B series, because the whole car, rims, max pinion rod, coilovers, and mind you, when I got this car, like I said, when I got the car, I had no carpet, no nothing. You know what I mean? So the whole setup cost me, I think, and with buying the head, this whole setup cost me $3,500. So that's not bad. That's, $3,500 for what this is, and this, you know what I mean, 3,500 including the head is 3,500. So yeah, that's not a lot of money still. And to go K series, is going to be about $5 to $6,000, probably more, because the motors have gone up significantly. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could buy. I bought two different K24s in 2020. In 2020, I bought two different K24s for $750 a piece. Right? The JDM K24A with vtec on both lobes, for, like I said, $750 a piece. Now, that's not happening. JDM K24 is about $1,000 to $1,200. Type S K20A, you're looking at probably, I think, $1,500 to $2,000 just for the motor alone. So everything, all Honda related things have gone up in price, and it's crazy. It's crazy to see it. I'm happy to see it, because you can no longer look at us Honda guys as the cheap ones at the meet. You can't look at us like that anymore, because this ain't cheap no more. It's not. I mean, comparatively speaking, it is still cheap. Yes, this is still, the build was $3,500, but we're talking about, if you want to go into labor and man hours, what it would cost somebody who's not a mechanic to build something like this, then you're looking at a whole different ballgame, right? It took me a month to build this. It took me exactly a month to build this, and that is I was lucky and blessed by God that the motor I got was good. I got the motor off of OfferUp. I got the motor and transmission for, I believe, like $1,000 off of OfferUp, and that was lucky. You know what I'm saying? I'm serious. That was very lucky. Third gear grinds a little bit going into third. Going from second to third doesn't grind going from fourth to third. So sometimes I'll shift into fourth and go to third real quick. But to get what I got for that price was a blessing, because that's getting the engine and transmission by itself is $1,500 to $2,000 now. So these things, like I said, these ain't cheap no more. But the car now is definitely how it sits now, because it still has tags on it. The car now is worth $5,000. It's a $5,000 car, because labor, you would look at all this done that I've done to the car, labor wise, you're looking at least $2,000 to $2,500 in labor. So this is a $5,000 car, how it sits. Now, once I put that head on it, you're looking at probably even more than that, because the heads, like I said, it's so hard to find everything now. And I won't say hard, but it's hard to find at a decent price. You can't just go on. Used to be you could just go online and find a GSR motor anywhere for $800 for a GSR motor, or $1,200 for a GSR, $1,500 for a GSR motor. That's not, no, those times don't exist anymore. You can't even. It's actually hard to find GSR motors. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to find GSR motors, all like a complete motor. That's not, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to find them. They're not just laying at your local engine place now. Like I've called up to engine places, like JDM California. I've called a few other places I know that imports these, like Auto Integrity and stuff, and I asked them for a B18, because just in case my motor was blown that I bought, I asked around just to see the prices, and they were like, oh, it might take a couple weeks, and they wanted, just for the engine alone, for a B18B, they wanted $800, $850 for a B. I was like, all right, that's not too bad, but it's not there. It's not just there like it used to be. You could just go, I'd blow my motor one day and go pick up another motor the next day, you know. So that should tell you everything where these are at now. But like I was saying, hell, Subaru motors are similarly priced now. You know, so this is purely a Honda passion thing. It's no longer just a, you know what I mean? Like people, you have mechanics now who are building these because they're easy to build. They're still easy to work on. I mean, look, this is everything. You know, I did this, like I said, I did this in my garage in less than a month. But the actual price of everything is crazy, you know. But so you got a lot of mechanics, like I said, you got a lot of mechanics who are taking these, building them real quick, because they might have deals, they might have engines laying around, and flipping them. Like I said, I could have, you know, with how much I paid for this, like I said, I paid for everything sitting here as it sits, is with the head, $3,500, and I can get $8,000 if I put that head on, get it tuned, get everything running right. The tune's gonna cost me at least, you know, $500 to $600, and then I preferably would get S300, so that's another $700 once I get the head on. So you're looking at, you know, adding about $2,000 more to get that head and get the car running good. You're looking at add $2,000 more. So now the build is $5,500 for that, which is how much the K series cost me, right? But the difference between that and the K series is that I started with the K series. I started with the B20 vtec, so I started with an extra $1,500 pretty much in my pocket, right? And I bought the car for $2,000, so I basically started. Let's just say I started with a $500 shell, and then got all the way up to almost $6,000 on that bill. And then this one, we started with an $800 shell, and to get it with to get the head on there and to get that running good, you're looking at a $5,000, $5,500 bill. So almost the same price to go B series and K series, actually, which is sad to say. To go do overhead cam VTEC B series, it is actually, now that I think about it, the same price to go K series, and you're still slower than K series. So, I mean, if I had a chance to do it over again, I'd still do the same thing, just because I missed B series. I missed how, I missed having K series for 2 years. I missed how the valve cover looks in the engine. I missed the sound of when the VTEC crossover is the main thing to me. That VTEC crossover is so apparent and so audible on B series. There's no comparison to K. That it's not the same. Although you can get Although a full bolt-on K24, JDM K24A is gonna connect you from 240 to 260 wheel horsepower. So that obviously, yeah. And then this a full bolt-on LS vtec, probably around 210 wheel horsepower, and that's on a good day. So yeah, that's a little bit of a difference, but it's not that much, and it makes you scared to throw a turbo on this because how hard it is to get these motors now. You know what I mean? Like, and I know this motor can handle 350 up to 400 horsepower stock, just a stock setup. 350 is what I would push for, and wouldn't go higher than that, just to keep everything reliable. Maybe even 320, somewhere around there. But yeah, that's where we're at today, and I just wanted to have a quick, because it's just crazy to see these prices so hyped up. Like, I couldn't even consider a Type R motor, a B18C JDM or B18C5. I couldn't consider it. My initial build going into this was a B16. I wanted to make a Civic Type R clone. That was like the dream, because I wanted to rev it as high as I wanted to rev it. I always wanted to have a high revving car, which I've never had. I've never had a car that rev, to 10 grand or 11,000, some crazy shit. So I always wanted to do something like that. But yeah, we're not gonna be doing that. I mean, you can get the B18 if you do all the stuff to it to rev, to 10 grand, but I'm not doing that. I'll probably just end up throwing a turbo on it one day and calling it a day with that as a daily driver, because I do want decent gas mileage still. So, I'm not doing E85 most likely. I might do E85. We'll see, depending on how much gas prices rise, because obviously E85 burns more gas, so that's why I haven't went that route. Because yeah, I mean, you're burning more gas, it almost equals, and you're going to the gas pump more often than you would with a regular pump gas car. So does it equal out with the prices? I don't know. We're gonna see, because if E85 stays in the threes, and 91 and 89, 87 keeps going up for us out here in California, yeah, trust and believe I will be going E85 with this whole build. But we shall see. But that was it for now. Just like I said, just want to do a quick discussion on that. And we're Honda guys, and we're no longer the the cheap guys at the car meets anymore. So give us some respect now. But yeah, this ain't cheap no more, man. It's not. It's no longer cheap. So it's gonna be funny to see in the future as these start to disappear and become hard to find. B20s are still luckily easily available for all you B series guys. But I wanted to go B18 just because everybody knows the potential of B18s in a stock form, before you do sleeves and all that. If you're gonna go all out and do sleeves and everything, then yeah, go ahead and start with the B20. But just like I said, I want to keep it in the 300, 400 horsepower range. So I'd rather not have to do sleeves for now. So until the next one, I'm out.